Good morning, everyone. Welcome inside the Faith Loop. It is February 15th, the year of our Lord 2023. Day 2,111,211. Nailed it. Wasn't even looking at it, Lauren. Approximately of the crisis of identity. My producer over there.
It's just an approximation.
It's an approximation. And that's definitely an approximation. You know, I know that we've talked about that before. They've done the calculations going back, you know, with the calendar and stuff. Yeah. I wonder how accurate some of that is sometimes.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Who knows?
Could be. Could be not.
Well, you know, the Roman calendar.
Yeah, because the ancient calendars were all based on 30 days, the cycle of the moon.
Yep.
That's what it was. Even the Hebrew calendar, because it was, you know, the first sighting of the new I don't know what it would be called, because it was the new moon, and I guess that's what it was, new moon, and you could see the sliver. Mm-hmm. We call a new moon when it disappears. There is no new moon. But the new moon was always when they first saw the moon. And, you know, you need to know where it is in the sky. I mean, those people were pretty good at what they did.
Oh, yeah.
Had to be accurate as they could be, because you needed to know throughout the year, as we call it, where to look in the sky, because the moon is different in the sky as we go through the solar year.
Yeah.
Right?
That's different. Yep.
So I think it's very interesting that way. So, you know, there you go. We threw that one in there for free.
Yeah. There's a history lesson on the moon.
It is not made out of cheese? Why didn't somebody tell me these things? My goodness.
That's green cheese.
Cream cheese. Oh, I like cream cheese, actually. You know, so there you go. But I want to get back into our subject matter here. We talked yesterday about gender, its etymology, what the word actually means. It's not. We've changed it into a descriptive context of male and female, but the origin of the word, the etymology of the word, just means to start something, the foundation to. It's a genesis, engendering. So with that in mind, I want to start this process, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit more over the next few weeks, because when we talk about governments, I've said this before, Dad has said it many times, long before I did. We were looking at these things and talking about this, and this has been, I want to share, if some of you haven't been following us for some time, when we started back with the congregation here in St. Charles, it was 2008, and I remember, you know, we're still ministering to a degree in different things and whatnot, but not really just a focused until 2008. We started a Bible study in the home of some folks, and Dad started going back through some of his teachings that he'd done for quite some time. And the conversations we've had over the past almost now, 15 years?
Yeah.
Right? That have brought us to this place, and I think it's the right time. I think it was purposeful, because we started. There was a pastor friend, Pam, was leading song service for this congregation, and so I told Dad there was no place here. We were attending services. I said, let's go over and check it out. See nothing else, just hang out. Meet people, talk, enjoy a little fellowship. And here we are. And I think there's a lot of purpose in things, and why we do things, and there is a necessity for truth, because regardless of what people might think, there is a movement. There are people that are intent on sharing the good news and being part of the solution. There is, for the most part, in my opinion, the greatest percentage of people in the world it's about the tradition. It's about going to church on Sunday, and that's about it. And our position in society, the government, and those things. And this is what we've created in the world. This is what has become the understanding of Christianity.
Yep.
No different than any other tradition, whether it be the Elks Club, the Rotary Club, Lions Club. You have your
Masons.
It's not different, Dad.
No.
And I think this is what's sad, and this is why I think it's important that we talk about the things that we're talking about, because this isn't about tradition. This is not about tradition at all. This isn't about going to church on Sunday. You can't go to yourself anyway. Again, another word that's been slaughtered because we take a language, a German word, it's form in German, it come out in English, and we lose the whole concept of the Greek, of how they use the word, just the assembling of the saints.
Yep. The assembly, the ecclesia.
The ecclesia is simply called out. That's all the word means, is called out. So then you have to ask, called out, what do you mean called out? We've been called out of this world. That's what Jesus did. He came to call us out and to separate us, to make us a holy people. That's what he did with Israel. That's what Jehovah did with Israel. And he sent Jesus to do the same.
Yep. He did.
To call us out of this mess. But we're right back in the middle of it, man. There isn't a large church organization that isn't political in the world.
Not that I know of right off the top of my head, no. None.
That's a fact, Dad.
Yeah. You know what always struck me is, why didn't Jesus do it?
Right.
Well, why didn't Jesus build a tabernacle? I mean, he wouldn't have had to walk all over Israel and, wear his feet out in them sandals. He could have built a cathedral, and, friend, it would have been packed. He'd have had a mega church. Why didn't he do that? Why? See, I've never understood. We talk about the Bible as though it's our guide, and yet we disregard most of it.
Yes. And, Dad, to your point, see, it's what we do here. We're not building a congregation. We're not building a church here. All we're doing is sharing the good news, and hope, and our expectation is that we touch enough people that you listen, you talk, you go and look for yourself, and you start seeking after the Lord in that way. Wherever you're at, we're here talking. You can find us.
Yeah.
We have the technology. Until they cut us off, then we'll shout out in the street until we get arrested, I guess. I'm not worried about that. Whether you are sitting in a building, listen to us, or you're sitting over here, it doesn't matter. I know that that's not the norm. If you don't attend and go walk into a building somewhere, I guess you're not holy. And that's what it's become almost. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think forsake the gathering of the saints. Find a body, find a group of people that you can meet with, talk with. But it doesn't. What does it matter what day it is? We still have our Sunday service. We still gather together on Sunday mornings. It's fine, but it's not out of obligation. I'm here to tell you. It's out of, that's what we enjoy doing. It fits most people, and we do it. We also are gathering tonight to watch a movie about the Exodus, patterns of evidence, the Red Sea miracle. These guys are scientists. They look at these things, and it'll be interesting. We do that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
We gather for a Bible study. We have the women gather in a home and talk and do. We've the women of courage. They've been ministering in Uganda through this same type of technology. Haven't had to fly over there, but making an impact. Because there are people there, and they know the people. They can talk. We can help. We have to understand it's about the message, not the building, not the organization. It's about people.
Yep.
And who are we calling out, and how are we calling them out? So with that being said, the use of the phrase gender equity, it's taken a forefront in this nation and all over the world, really. Gender equity. And this is what we talked about yesterday. So gender equity, creation or foundational equity, right? Well, we're talking male, female. No, see, we've changed that language, but they haven't, and I'm going to show you they haven't. Gender equity and how it is shaping our future. We have to remember that in our day and age, this has become the word, the buzzword. And I'm going to show you guys something. I'm going to read. Most of you, I'm sure, have heard of Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum. If you haven't, now you have. He wrote a book in 2019, or it came out in 2019, called The Fourth Industrial Revolution. And I'm going to read a couple things here from the introduction. I want you to, please, I know it's hard sometimes to focus, whatnot, but I want you to listen to this. Of the many diverse and fascinating challenges we face today, the most intense and important is how to understand and shape the new technology revolution, which entails nothing less than a transformation of humankind. We are at the beginning of a revolution that is fundamentally changing the way we live, work, and relate to one another. In its scale, scope, and complexity, what I consider to be the fourth industrial revolution is unlike anything humankind has experienced before. Yet, we have yet to grasp fully the speed and breadth of this new revolution. Consider the unlimited possibilities of having billions of people connected by mobile devices, giving rise to unprecedented processing power, storage capabilities, and knowledge access. Or think about the staggering confluence of emerging technology breakthroughs covering wide-ranging fields such as artificial intelligence, robotics, the Internet of Things, autonomous vehicles, 3D printing, nanotechnology, biotechnology, materials science, energy storage, and quantum computing, to name a few. Many of these innovations are in their infancy, but they are already reaching an inflection point in their development as they build on and amplify each other in a fusion of technologies across the physical, digital, and biological worlds. We are witnessing profound shifts across all industries marked by the emergence of new business models, the disruption of incumbents, and the reshaping of production, consumption, transportation, and delivery systems. on the societal front, a paradigm shift is underway in how we work and communicate, as well as how we express, inform, and entertain ourselves. Equally, governments and institutions are being reshaped, as are systems of education, healthcare, and transportation, among many others. New ways of using technology to change behavior, and our systems of production and consumption also offer the potential for supporting the regeneration and preservation of natural environments, rather than creating hidden costs in the form of externalities. The changes are historic in terms of their size, speed, and scope. That's just the first 3 paragraphs of the introduction. Yeah. Do we see these things happening? Absolutely. Here's another statement he makes here. Shared understanding is particularly critical if we are to shape a collective future that reflects common objectives and values. Well, whose values?
Yeah, who establishes that?
Gender. This is what gender equity is about. Gender equity has nothing to do with male and female. Gender equity has to do with reshaping the collective future that reflects common objectives and values. And it's their values transforming humankind. See, because what has been is what we're doing. This is what even Paul said this, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. What are they doing here?
Same thing.
It's not different. This has been and will always be. They're still in revolt. He said it. This revolution. Why are we still revolting?
Yeah, everything's a revolution, isn't it?
I've talked about it for I don't know how long.
I know.
Why? We talk about, well, I'm a rebel for Jesus. Then you ought to change your attitude. Because revolutionaries and rebellion doesn't fit within the kingdom of Jehovah. Because that's what started all this mess. Well, that's not the way I say. We can rebel against this. No, it's not rebelling against this system or that. No, it's about being called out of it and becoming part of the solution, and then sharing the truth with those that are still in rebellion.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
I can disagree with it.
Well, I do. If I'm called out,
exactly.
Yeah, Papa.
I can disagree. I can speak my mind and think. Speak what I think.
Yeah.
I would hope for change in some things and areas, going back to not change necessarily, but going back to some kind of normality based on truths that were established by the Lord all through from Genesis on. But to rebel is not in the plan.
See, that's to me what you said right there. And I know this is a common thinking throughout, but looking down through history, even Daniel, he worked with the king there. Mm-hmm. It was what he did and whatnot. Did he pursue? What was his pursuit? And we look at that and we go, well, see, Daniel worked within the government to do this and this and that. Not by choice.
Where did he rebel?
And not by choice. No. And he wasn't trying to further Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom or the next one or whatever. It was where he was at the time, and the Lord gave him favor within that, probably to help Israel, to keep Israel alive, to keep those people going. Not because Daniel wanted that power, or he thought he was going to reshape and save Babylon through the government. See, this is where we get it wrong. In fact, see, when it all came down to it, his three buddies that he got jobs for stood up that day in the plain of Dura and said, "We will not bow when the music plays, King, because there is only one standard by which we exist. And you're changing this." See, this has to do with government and whatnot. And what they're doing in the world, and people say, well, see, we used to go under God. No, it's still the same thing. We have to understand that the governments of this world are not shaped or formed or set in motion by the precept statutes. We call it Judeo-Christian ethics, but it's not. That's what we have set it to be. I know this isn't popular. People are going to turn me off or whatever you want. Do whatever you want to do. That's up to you. But one of the things that I think is so terrible in our world is we are not being transformed by the renewing of our mind, and we're not called out. We're, as Billy Graham said, are you in the world but not of it? But see, I think Billy got caught up in that too.
He did at times, yeah.
I have no advice to give a president other than repent. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. I have no other advice for these people sitting. The theater is starting again, just on the other side. Man, the Republicans are standing up there. You, sir, you're going to go to jail for election. And nobody will go to, oh, yeah, some plebe will end up in jail. Some guy that just got caught up in it, you stick him in prison. I'm tired of the theater of the absurd. And then we sit around and believe that this is what God wants.
And you know, one of the things you said about Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel was given favor because he didn't play any games.
No, Dad.
When the Lord showed him something, he told him. He didn't say, I hate you, I'm against you, I'm trying to get you out of this kingdom, you know.
Right.
He just told him. And when the dreams came, he called Daniel. Oh, he had all the other guys come in. And then he said, you tell me the dream and then tell me the interpretation. That's pretty tough right there. First, you tell me what I dreamed. And Daniel did. Told him what he dreamed, told him what it meant. And it wasn't really good for Nebuchadnezzar.
No, Dad.
But because of what happened and because he knew Daniel was telling the truth, he didn't hurt Daniel. And Daniel didn't say, I've come here to dethrone you.
No.
No, he just said, this is what the Lord said. You can and he could have, they tried to kill Daniel. They conspired on him and tried to kill him.
And that goes to the point you said earlier. We're not here. I'm not rebelling. I have no problem living under, in this country by the rules that they've set. Because I don't want to break, I don't want to go against what they've instructed as the order of society in this country. Mm-hmm. And we sit around and go, how come those Russian people don't stand up and do it? Well, there's people there that they don't just go against their government either. Most people don't, in general. In fact, and that's the thing, people have to realize, it was only about 20% of the population in the colonies that wanted to revolt against the throne.
Yeah.
The majority of people were fine.
Paul Revere's own mother, she was a...
Ben Franklin's son was a loyalist to the end.
Yes.
He was the governor of New York. And he was loyal to the crown. He was not. a revolutionary.
No.
And we say, well, that doesn't make him right. I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent. I think the whole thing is a mess.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a government on the earth today that is set up and put in place by Jehovah. How can you say he brings kings up? Yeah, I think there was a day he did that. But once Jesus came and set those things in place, and he became the standard and sits at the right hand of the Father as the king right now, all the rest of that's gone. There is no standard in Israel. Everybody did what was right in his own eyes. And they rejected Jehovah because of it. And they said, well, we need a standard. We need somebody that we can have to make decisions. And we have people making decisions. I said it Sunday. I want to say this, Dad. Let's take a look. Who'd you vote for? Do you know these people? Do you know what they think? Do they think like you? Do you even know if they think like you? We believers. Oh, well, he's a Christian. Really? That's a broad term.
Yep, very broad.
I just don't get it. I know how Jesus thinks, and that's the way I want to think. That has nothing to do with what this world is set about to do. And this gender equity is about what they're doing to reshape humankind, as he said.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he said it right there in his own book.
Yes.
You know,
and
what
that's
he's
just
talking
the
about.
introduction right there,
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah.
That's not even getting into things. You know, this is shaping the fourth industrial revolution to ensure that it is empowering and human-centered rather than divisive and dehumanizing is not a task for any single stakeholder or sector or for any one region, industry, or culture. The fundamental and global nature of this revolution means it will affect and be influenced by all countries, economies, sectors, and people. It is therefore critical that we invest attention and energy in multi-stakeholder cooperation across academic, social, political, national, and industry boundaries. These interactions and collaborations are needed to create positive, common, and hope-filled narratives, enabling individuals and groups from all parts of the world to participate in and benefit from ongoing transformations.
Yep. And they believe the technology they have is going to create this. They believe in technology more than they believe in anything else. We now have the means to do it.
You and I, Dad, have talked about this, and we've said it a little bit here on Inside the Faith Loop. Revelation, John's revelation, and all these things that we talk about today, and the coming of this, coming that, and whatnot. And who's the man of lawless? We're still looking for that guy.
Yep.
Which I think is already, well, I know has already happened. I'm going to tell you that right now. I know. That man's name was Constantine and set all this in motion. And it has been like those things written throughout this whole time. I do believe that the dragon has been loosed out of the abyss. We saw the rebirth of humanism in the 14th century.
Yep.
We have seen the rise of, as you said, technology and the idea that there is no creator, that man can stand and live by his own strength. And this is what we're seeing. And this is exactly what this is about.
Absolutely.
The fulfillment of all of these things has been and has come to pass. We've seen the plagues, we've seen the bowls, we've seen these things, we've seen war, we've seen famine. We don't have to wait for the red horse. It started way back then. You know how many people have been slaughtered in war since Jesus? Since Constantine?
Yeah, a bunch.
There haven't been wars and rumors of wars?
All the time.
There hasn't been famine and plague? The Black Plague, folks, killed a third of the population of the world.
Yep.
Go read your history. I think that says that.
It does.
In the book.
It was about a third of the population, yeah.
No, I'm talking about the Bible.
Oh, yeah. That's
what, right?
It does, yes.
And it said it would kill a third. That has happened.
That one
plague.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah. He was given power to take the lives of a third of the earth.
And I think that's been since. How many more plagues is there? And we try to look for one event.
Yeah, some big splash in the pan, it's going to be boom, and that's it. No.
Black Plague was pretty splashy.
I've said this many times. One of the great problems with prophecy is we don't know when it's being fulfilled, we don't recognize it. We don't see it because we're looking past it, farther. We never look back to see if those things that were said already took place, happened. We're always looking into the future and looking to some big event. And so we actually don't realize when it's being fulfilled.
Right.
Israel was this way. When the women came to Jeremiah and said, we're going to continue to bake cakes to the Queen of Heaven, because when we served her, we had plenty. Well, the whole time they were doing that, the Lord was telling them, you either quit doing this or I'm going to take the blessing away. Well, when he took it away, they got mad and thought that, well, if we worship her, it'll be good again. They didn't understand that was the cause, that was the reason that it happened to them.
Right.
Can't see the forest for the trees. We just can't.
I want to leave today with this thought. And like I said, we're gonna keep on this subject because I think it's important for us as believers to understand what we're seeing in the world. And gender equity, understand what gender equity is about. Let us go down and make man in our image and likeness. And he made them male and female. Well, we already have established the word gender and its etymology is not about male and female. So what is this about? It's about the destruction of truth in what we were created to be, in what Jehovah set in place. We engender a whole new thought process of existence. This is what gender equity is about. And it's veiled very, 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 very well, but it takes away male and female. And this is what's happening. You have the transgender, non-binary, all of these words that are setting in place this destruction of truth. Mm-hmm. Sunday I said this, and Dad knows I believe this very much, and if our foundation, our belief, people go, well, Brian, how do you know what's true? How do you hear from the Lord? Have you read the Genesis narrative? See, when I read something like this, I can read it knowing full well how to overcome anything that might try to ensnare my mind. Because I was, as a person, my being is the express image of our Father in heaven in mind, breath, and body. The only thing that we lack right now is the physical, is the immortality. If you are renewed in your mind and your conduct, this is the point, because that's what we were created to be. So if I hold to that truth, that is the singular truth that is the foundation of everything that I am. And when people start talking and nothing of what they're saying and how life and existence should be fits within that narrative, I know it's not true, and I'm not going to hold to that.
True.
That is how you overcome the enemy. This is what Jesus came to show us how to do. And we are accountable to it. Don't think that you're predestined, as Calvin said. We are predestined in the image and likeness of Jehovah because he did it from the beginning. That's why Jesus could say, before Abraham was, I am. He didn't pre-exist. He's a created being, the second man, Adam. Understand what we are and what we were given. That doesn't take away the power. I don't understand that. Well, you're taking away his deity. That's our made-up word for it. Jehovah is a being that is all power. He is a physical presence, just like we do. And we are his express image. He made us like him. So we could be a representation of him in the earth. That's what a son does. And that's what Jesus did.
Got a couple of good comments. My wife put on here a very good one. She said, so true. I read a piece this morning that a teacher in California was fired because she would not follow the guidelines of keeping information from parents about their child becoming a transgender child.
There you go.
She wouldn't follow their guidelines because it went against her faith. So you can't disagree with them. And one of the things that
exactly, Dad.
One of the things that you see when you read Schwab and these guys is that they want to make everybody but them the same. But they want to set up on their high mucky muck thrones and control the world and make everybody, like they said, you will own nothing but you'll be happy. Well, they will. They'll own it all. That's what they want to do. They're so power mad and power hungry that they want to control the world. And where does that come from? That's total rebellion against Jehovah. That's the I don't know how to put it. It's the maximum rebellion that a man can do. Because what they're doing is they're setting themselves in place of God, in place of Jehovah. We'll make it. We'll use technology and we'll fix you. We'll do this and we'll do this and we'll do this. And everybody will be the same. That's what he's talking about there. Everybody, gender don't mean nothing. Nothing else means nothing. We'll all be the same. And except them. Isn't that funny? They want to be God. That's what they want to be. They're so deluded in their minds. God help them. And who is giving them the delusion?
Are we willing to stand up against that and say, this is wrong?
That's wrong. It's just wrong.
Somebody is. At the
expense of her job.
There's the thing, Dad. See, I'm just saying. I know it's tough.
And I thought in this country you couldn't be discriminated against because of your religion and your faith or your beliefs. I thought that was against discrimination laws. I know I've had businesses where I hired people, and if I would have fired somebody because of that they could have sued me out of business.
Because this has become. They are the transformation of existence. This is Nebuchadnezzar stuff. This is Nimrod stuff. This is Adam stuff. This is the Adam syndrome, folks. take a few minutes. Go to our website. Lauren's got the blog URL up there in the description. Go read the blog for this chapter here. You can go to our the Faith Loop page. Down there we have the booklet series. Go read the Genesis narrative. Go read the Adam Syndrome. Dad wrote these booklets it's been a little bit now.
Yeah.
Been a few years. Go read them. The Adam Syndrome and what we're dealing with and the rebellion that we're seeing in the world against our Father in heaven. The opportunity is there to stand up and be transformed by the renewing of our mind through Jesus Christ. And we need to be, that's where we need to be.
Absolutely.
Folks, hope that was helpful to you. The links are here. I would, if you hold to that foundation, go read what Schwab is saying. But remember, don't fall for the Kool-Aid. Right?
Yep.
I'll hold to that foundation. I'm in the image and likeness of my Father, and that's where I'm going to stay. I'm not going to be transformed in any other way. Hold to that truth. Hold to that truth. That's what Jesus Christ is here for. And He will help us. He will stand with us. He will strengthen us in that walk.
Amen.
Amen?
Yep.
We love you. We care about you greatly. Everybody, have a great day in the Lord. Enjoy your day. Always remember to give love
and give life
and give Jesus.